no, it's gonna be Rell instead.
Rell.
Rell?
Rell.
Is Rell?
Rell. As of making this video, she is currently sitting at a 52.2% win rate. At first glance, that might insinuate that she is in a good spot. But on the other hand, this video's title tells another story. The story of Rell and her mid-scope rework. It wouldn't be a proper rework without desaturating the hell out of these icons. Whoa, look at these new reworked icons! But Maiden, if she has such a high win rate, why is there a need to change her? I'm glad you asked that, my little fellow. Well, despite her coming out very recently, back in late 2020, just a little over 2 years ago, she has unfortunately come out of style, started to become stale, or as the kids would say, her Jordans are fake as Despite coming out as a strong young female support tank, her abilities just quite don't hit the mark. The idea is there, staring at her like one of those eye puff things ophthalmologists make you look into, and then a kit that complements her personality, but can't quite fit the mold of what she should be as a champion. Speaking of that damn eye test, I would like to have a few words with the person who made that barn thing a living hell in my life. Those with glasses know exactly what I mean. Anywho, Rell is not a bad champ. She is actually really strong on higher elo. It's just everywhere else she's just not the best currently. And with a few adjustments to her core abilities, I am certain she can come out as someone to fear more. One of her main issues is, once she dismounts and fails to knock someone up, it's really hard to disengage yourself without putting yourself and possibly your teammates in danger. Yes, she is meant to be this clunky, heavy support, but if you're unable to hit your W knockup, you end up being a punching bag that has the speed of a snail. It also doesn't help that, in early game, your W is on an 11-second cooldown. Hell, on patch 11.5, her dismount and mount was actually nerfed to a 13-second cooldown, which severely screwed her over because her win rate started to drop dramatically, so they actually had to revert it back in 11.15, which then brought her win rate back up from where it was before. Well, almost. Then on patch 12.10, they buffed her base health, her health growth, her armor growth, and even her magic resist. Patch 12.17, they buffed her modified movement speed when she was dismounted, and lowered the cooldown on her E. Mix that in with some shield adjustments and her weird ass C ability, but even then with the buffs and fixes it was still not enough. Ryan, or Reeve3, is the lead gameplay producer over at Rito Games. He is the one who got possessed and ended up as my YouTube banner image. Thank you, Reeve, for that fun video that I now immortalized as my banner. Anyway, on Reddit he discussed Rell, and what they were trying to aim for ultimately fell short of what they wanted her to be. He states, I personally think we missed the mark on her fantasy. When we were in early development, she was a really interesting and cool champion. When she was on her horse, she was like really fast, and then she was really slow when on the ground. As we started to balance the champ much later in development, we found that her speed and her horse form would cause her optimal play to constantly leave her lane partner behind and just roam the whole game. It ended up being a pretty unhealthy play pattern, so we had to nerf her horse movement speed to the point that her unique gameplay identity kind of disappeared. Now, she's just regular speed on the horse and super slow armored, so she doesn't really get the super fast horse rider power fantasy trade-off for being slow the other half of the time. I think we probably need to re-look at her and see if we can push her power elsewhere, not in roaming power, in a way that could give her a more unique identity and separate her from Leona more. Ideally, Rell is in a place where people that like Leona also want to play Rell. Both are awesome armored tank supports. Right now, if you like Leona, you probably don't have a good reason to also play Rell, and that is something we would want to address in a mid-scope. Rell is someone with high risk, low reward. Well, sometimes. What I mean is, most supports who are heavy engage at least have something to follow up if they miss a key ability. For instance, Nahus. If he misses, he still at least has a shield, AoE slow, and a point-and-click knockup ult. For Thresh, if he misses, well, he isn't forced to go in, but he still has his flay, shield, and AoE slow ult, and they both have the damage to back it up if they do land a hit. Rell, on the other hand, her Q barely does any damage, as well as the heal. I mean, at that point it feels like Rakan heals more despite Rell healing for % missing health. Her E is still sometimes wonky, only stuns for 0.5 seconds. Her W, when you crash down on someone, doesn't do that much either, and you sure as hell aren't going to be building remotely any form of strict AP, and her ult doesn't deal that much either. Now again, I'm not saying that every ability needs to chunk health bars, but the fact that she cannot commit unless someone will follow up makes her semi-unplayable. With Thresh, it's a clear sign if he hits a hook that he will go in, or with Nautilus if he ults, it's to go in, or with his Q and vice versa. But with Rell, she throws her entire self in there and there's no guarantee that it will hit, or if the person she is aiming for will just blink, roll, or even flash away. Sure, it's a summoner down, but then you have to disengage and most of the time you will get chunked down as a consequence. But on the other hand, if we are looking at the pros of Rell, if she is able to get ahead with her ADC, it can be such a pain and quite frankly, awfully terrifying to deal with, since she can get far enough ahead where her tankiness really takes effect and her CC chains really start to affect the game. With her in the front lines, if she is not behind, her forms of engage, especially if they're all grouped together, can make massive plays for your team. But then again, if you're not that far ahead, then you're just throwing yourself to the enemy team to be killed later on. That huge slow that she has dismounted is such a detriment to her that they really need to change it. And I'm really glad they're looking at ways to make it so she's not that slow, or at least not forced to be slow for long. Now, there have been leaks here and there that state that her Q is going to also slow if they're moving away. Her W makes her unstoppable and gains movement speed towards allies, which will allow her to engage a hell of a lot better, as well as giving her ally a shield. Her E is going to be your current ult and even stuns after the 3-second pull is done, and her ult is going to be her current W, which according to the leaks, you can get at level 1. If this is the case, because remember these are just leaks, there's nothing that's guaranteed, it's going to make her playstyle a lot more focused on get in, do a bunch of slows and stuns while also helping your allies, but if you're not able to fully engage, you're able to run back to your ally with an increased movement speed that also makes you unstoppable. Yes, she is going to kill it in the bot lane if these are true. I love this champion. When they announced that they were making another engaged tank support, I was excited. That teaser where it had the wanted poster directly announcing how much of a threat this person was to Noxus, that this fugitive has killed war bands of soldiers, that not only do they want this person alive, they want whoever dares to bring them down to the closest empire with a black rose on it. You know, the Black Rose, a secret organization, basically outing themselves at that point to the public. Overall, they don't want to make a copy of Leona. They want Rell to be her own special kind of champion that will be more viable at all ranks, not just pro play. And I cannot wait to see what they have in store. And before I forget, I plan on making this a two-parter, with this mainly focused on the pros, if any, and cons of Rell, and how the possible leak changes will potentially make her better as an engaged support, with a more reliable tool for escape. The second part of this will be much after the rework has come out on the live servers, and has allowed some time for the new mid-scoped Rell to fully get used to her new kit. And before I go, you bet your sweet Bippy I'm going to make another mid-scope champion rework spotlight. I honestly didn't expect my Tom Kench one to blow up compared to my other videos, so I really cannot thank you enough for that. All that support, the comments, the likes, and the views. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all real soon. Goodbye.